Lost in the cold darkness, Commander Ryan Carter drifted alone in the vast emptiness of space. His ship, the Horizon, was nothing but wreckage now, shattered metal floating like dead bones around him. His helmet's screen flickered red warnings. Oxygen, 12%. Dehydration, critical. His throat felt like fire. He tried to swallow, but there was nothing left inside him. 3 days. 3 days since the explosion. No food, no water, no way to call for help. Ryan blinked slowly, his breath fogging the visor of his space helmet. Stars surrounded him, cold and distant, offering no comfort. He had always imagined dying in battle. Not like this, floating alone in the darkness, forgotten. His spacesuit was losing power. The emergency light on his wrist dimmed. His fingers felt numb. Soon, he would drift into sleep and never wake up. Then he saw something. A shadow moving against the backdrop of distant stars. At first, he thought his mind was playing tricks on him. Hallucinations were common when the body was dying. But no, this was real. It was a ship, unlike any he had seen before. It was sleek, curved, almost organic, as if it was alive. It glided through space without any visible thrusters. Its surface shimmered, changing colors like deep ocean waves. Ryan's heart pounded. Was it human? Or something else? He reached for the emergency beacon on his belt. It had just enough energy left for one distress signal. If this was an enemy, he was dead anyway. If it was friendly, it was his last chance. He pressed the button. A weak red flare pulsed from his suit, a tiny light in the vast sea of blackness. The ship turned, as if it had seen him. It moved closer. Ryan's breath quickened. His mind raced. What if it's hostile? What if they kill me on sight? But it didn't matter. He would die soon anyway. The ship stopped just a few feet away. A panel on its surface melted open, revealing a dark entrance. Ryan tried to move, but his body was too weak. His limbs felt like stone. His vision blurred. Then, hands. Not human hands. Thin, delicate fingers wrapped around his arms, pulling him into the ship. He tried to fight, but his strength was gone. A face loomed over him. Huge, glowing eyes, smooth purple skin, the high, sharp forehead. An alien. Ryan's breath caught in his throat. He had seen alien species before, but never like this. This one was different. The alien's lips moved, but the words didn't reach his ears. Instead, they echoed inside his mind. A soft, melodic voice whispering in broken English. Do not fight. You are safe. Ryan's vision darkened. His body collapsed. The last thing he saw was the alien's wide, curious eyes staring down at him. Then everything went black. Waking in the unknown, Ryan Carter woke up with a jolt, gasping for air. For a moment, he thought he was back in his ship. That may be the explosion, the cold silence of space, the slow suffocation. It had all been a nightmare. But then he saw the ceiling. It was glowing. Soft pulses of blue and violet light ran through the smooth, curved surface, as if the walls were breathing. He blinked, trying to clear his vision. His body felt weightless but not floating. Gravity. Wherever he was, it had gravity. His suit was gone. He was lying on something soft, yet firm. A bed, a platform, a medical table. He lifted his hand. It moved sluggishly, his fingers tingling as if waking from sleep. Then he felt it. Something was watching him. He turned his head and froze. A pair of huge, luminescent eyes stared at him, unblinking. The alien stood just a few feet away, motionless as if afraid to move. It was tall, slender, with smooth violet skin that shimmered in the dim light. Its arms were long and delicate, its fingers almost too thin. And its face. Not human, not monstrous, something in between. Ryan's heart pounded. He wasn't dead. He wasn't hallucinating. The alien took a slow step forward. It held something. A small curved bowl filled with a glowing blue liquid. Ryan licked his lips. His throat burned. His body screamed for water. But he didn't move. Poison. A drug. Some kind of experiment. The alien tilted its head, as if reading his hesitation. Then, in a voice that didn't come from its lips but inside his mind, it spoke. Drink. You need. Ryan clenched his fists. He had no reason to trust this thing, but he also had no choice. He reached out, fingers shaking, and took the bowl. The liquid was cool against his skin. He hesitated, staring into its glowing depths. Then he drank. The moment the liquid touched his tongue, his body reacted. A shock of energy ran through him. It wasn't just water. It was something else. His mind sharpened, the fog clearing. His muscles stopped aching. His heart pounded harder, faster, but not in panic. He felt alive. Ryan gasped, pulling the bowl away, staring at the alien in shock. What did you just give me? The alien took another step forward. Its large eyes narrowed slightly. Then, in that same melodic voice, it whispered inside his head. You belong to me now. Ryan's blood ran cold. Was he saved or captured? Escape or trust? Ryan's fingers twitched against the empty bowl. His body felt stronger, clearer, but his mind screamed danger. You belong to me now. The words still echoed inside his head, not spoken but placed there, like a whisper inside his own thoughts. He stared at the alien, his breathing steady but his pulse racing. What does that mean? He demanded, his voice hoarse. Who are you? The alien tilted its head, blinking slowly, as if considering the question. Then, in that eerie, melodic way, the voice drifted into his mind again. I am Lyra, and you are mine to protect, mine to keep. Ryan forced himself to sit up. His body still tingled from whatever she had given him, but he felt stronger now. He clenched his fists, scanning the room. The walls pulsed with strange energy. The air had a metallic taste. This wasn't just a spaceship, it was alive. He needed a way out. His training kicked in. Assess. Observe. Act. There was a door, a smooth curved panel that blended into the wall. No handle. No seams. Maybe voice activated. Maybe biometric. Either way, a problem. Lyra took another step closer. Ryan tensed. You are frightened. Ryan let out a cold laugh. Yeah, no kidding. You drug me, bring me onto your weird ship, and tell me I belong to you. What exactly am I supposed to feel? Lyra blinked again. Safe. Ryan shook his head. Not happening. He needed a weapon. Something sharp. Something heavy. Anything. His eyes flicked to the small metallic tray where the empty bowl sat. Not much, but better than nothing. Then the ship shook. A deep, vibrating boom echoed through the walls. Ryan's gut twisted. That wasn't turbulence. That was an attack. Lyra's eyes widened. Her head snapped to the ceiling as if she could hear something he couldn't. They found us. Ryan's blood ran cold. Who? Lyra turned to him, and for the first time, there was fear in her expression. My people. A second boom rocked the ship, and suddenly Ryan didn't care about escaping anymore. He just wanted to survive. Escape or trust. The ship shivered, not from movement, but from something deeper, something alive. Ryan felt it beneath him, a slow rhythmic pulse, like a heartbeat in metal. Was this ship breathing? His fingers curled into the strange, silk-like sheets beneath him. He was still half-dressed, his spacesuit missing, replaced with something lighter, thinner. Why had they removed his suit? Then he remembered. You belong to me now. Ryan's pulse quickened. His eyes flicked to the alien. Lyra, she had called herself. She stood across the room, watching him, her enormous silver eyes unblinking. Her violet skin shimmered under the ship's soft glow, as if absorbing its light. She was waiting, studying him. Ryan exhaled slowly. Think. Plan. Act. Escape wasn't just an option. It was the only option. His gaze darted around the room. Walls too smooth, too seamless. No doors, no windows, no vents, no obvious way out. His fingers twitched. He needed a weapon. You took my suit, Ryan said, voice dry, testing her reaction. Why? Lyra tilted her head. The response didn't come from her lips, but from inside his skull, that strange, melodic voice slipping into his mind. It was damage. Your body. Weak. You needed repair. Ryan clenched his jaw. So what? You fixed me up, and now I'm your pet. Lyra blinked, as if considering the word. No, you are not pet. You are mine. Ryan's muscles coiled, ready. Not how I see it. His hand darted forward, grabbing the empty bowl from the table, flipping it, swinging toward her head. Lyra moved faster. 1 second she was across the room. The next, her long fingers caught his wrist mid-swing, stopping him effortlessly. Ryan froze. Her grip was soft, gentle, but unbreakable. A slow pulse of warmth traveled through his skin where she touched him. Not painful, not forceful, just powerful. He tried to yank his arm away. It didn't move. Lyra stared at him, tilting her head again like she didn't understand. You fight me, she said, voice laced with something close to sadness. But I save you. Ryan's jaw tightened. I didn't ask for that. A pause. Then, soft, but firm. You would rather die. Before Ryan could answer, the ship lurched, a heavy boom shaking the walls. The air hummed, vibrating with something unseen. Not turbulence. Not an engine. A warning. Lyra's entire body stiffened. Her silver eyes flashed as she turned toward the ceiling, listening. Ryan heard nothing, but he felt it. A presence. Lyra's expression darkened. They found us. Ryan's stomach twisted. Who? She turned back to him. For the first time, he saw fear in her face. My people. Another boom. A voice, low, distorted, alien, rumbled through the ship's walls. A message, a demand. Lyra grabbed Ryan's wrist tighter. This time, there was no warmth. Only urgency. If they take you, she whispered into his mind, they will break you. The ship shuddered. A deep metallic screech filled the air. Something was boarding them. Ryan's breath hitched. He wasn't sure if he trusted Lyra. But right now, he was sure of one thing. He was trapped between a strange alien and something much, much worse. Hunted in the stars. The ship screamed. Not metal. Not machinery. Something alive. The walls shuddered, pulsing like they were trying to push something away. The air vibrated with a low, deep hum, and Ryan felt it in his bones. Something was coming. Lyra's grip on his wrist tightened, her silver eyes flicking between him and the trembling walls. Ryan swallowed hard. What the hell is that? Her voice slipped into his mind, urgent and sharp. They are inside. Inside. His blood ran cold. Another metallic screech ripped through the ship, closer this time. It wasn't just a sound. It was a message. A warning. Ryan didn't know who they were, but he knew one thing. He wasn't staying here to find out. He yanked his arm free from Lyra's grip and moved, scanning the room for anything. A weapon. An exit. Something. But the ship was too smooth, too organic. No seams, no panels, no way out. Another boom. The walls twisted, as if in pain. Ryan's gut clenched. Footsteps. Heavy. Slow. Wrong. They weren't human. Ryan turned to Lyra. How do we get out of here? She didn't answer. Instead, her eyes flickered, her hands moving fast, pressing against the wall in a sequence he didn't understand. The air rippled. And suddenly, the wall in front of them melted open. A hallway, dimly lit, twisting like a tunnel. Lyra grabbed his arm. "Run." Ryan didn't argue. They sprinted down the corridor, the walls changing as they moved, closing behind them, shifting like a living maze. Ryan's boots pounded against the smooth floor, his pulse hammering. He didn't dare look back. Then, a hiss. Cold, sharp, wrong. Ryan felt it before he saw it. A shadow dropped into the corridor ahead. Tall, insect-like. Its limbs were too long, its body wrapped in dark, shimmering armor that seemed to shift with the dim light. Its eyes, black pits, endless and empty, locked onto Ryan. A voice slithered through the air, thick and alien. Human. Ryan skidded to a stop, his heart slamming against his ribs. The creature moved, too fast, closing the distance in seconds. Ryan had no weapon, no plan, no time. But Lyra did. She stepped forward, lifting her hand. The air cracked. A shockwave rippled through the corridor, slamming into the creature. It screeched, its body twisting unnaturally before it was thrown backward, crashing into the wall with a sickening crunch. Ryan stared. What the hell did she just do? Lyra turned to him, her expression unreadable. "Keep running." Ryan swallowed his questions and did as she said. They ran, deeper into the ship. Behind them, the creature stirred. And it wasn't alone. A desperate gamble. The walls twisted and pulsed, shifting like a living maze as Ryan and Lyra ran. The ship was alive, reacting to their movements, sealing passages behind them, trying to keep the invaders out. But it wasn't enough. The air grew colder, the temperature dropping unnaturally fast. Ryan could feel it creeping into his bones, an invisible presence clawing at his skin. The things hunting them weren't just fast, they were changing the environment. Lyra suddenly stopped. Ryan nearly slammed into her. "Why did you?" She lifted a hand. The air cracked. The walls rippled. A small circular hatch appeared where there had been nothing but smooth metal a second ago. Lyra turned to Ryan, her silver eyes sharp. Inside. Ryan hesitated. The passage beyond was dark, too dark. Then, from behind them, a sound. Not a hiss, not a screech. A whisper. Cold, hollow, inhuman. It slithered through the corridor like something ancient, something that had been waiting. Ryan didn't need to be told twice. He dove into the hatch. Lyra followed, sealing it behind them just as a shadow lunged. The moment the door shut, everything went silent. Ryan's breaths were loud in the enclosed space. His hands shook. Lyra pressed her palm against the wall. A soft blue glow spread outward, illuminating where they were. Ryan blinked. The walls here were different, older. The air felt heavier, charged with something ancient. "What is this place?" he asked. Lyra didn't answer right away. She was looking at the center of the chamber. Ryan followed her gaze, and his stomach dropped. There was something floating in the middle of the room. It was a device, but not like anything Ryan had ever seen. It pulsed with slow, rhythmic energy, humming faintly. Symbols, not human, not Lyra's language, but something older, etched across its surface. Ryan didn't like it. Lyra, however, looked afraid. "That thing," Ryan said slowly, "isn't part of your ship, is it?" Lyra shook her head. "No, it is. A secret." Ryan frowned. "What kind of secret?" Lyra hesitated. Then softly, "The kind worth killing for." A boom rattled the walls. The hunters were here. Lyra turned to Ryan. "We must use it." Ryan scowled. "Use it for what?" Another boom, closer this time. Lyra stepped forward, pressing her hand against the glowing device. The moment her fingers touched it, the symbols lit up, bright and blinding. The ship shuddered. Ryan felt something deep inside his skull shift, as if reality itself had just been rewritten. The door behind them began to open. and the shadows outside were waiting. The final stand. The air rippled as the chamber came alive. The ancient device pulsed, sending waves of invisible energy through the walls. Ryan felt it inside his skull. A strange vibration, like a voice trying to speak without words. Then, the door exploded open. A black mass poured into the room, shifting like liquid but moving with terrifying precision. Shadows stretched and curled, taking shape. Ryan saw them. Tall, twisted, wrong. Their bodies were wrapped in living exoskeletons, smooth and black like obsidian. Their eyes, if they had any, were hidden behind armor that hummed with energy. They didn't move like normal creatures. They glided. Lyra stood her ground. Her silver eyes flickered, her hands glowing faintly, energy crackling at her fingertips. The lead creature stepped forward. When it spoke, its voice wasn't a sound. It was a feeling. Cold, crawling, like fingers pressing inside Ryan's skull. You have stolen what does not belong to you. Ryan clenched his jaw. He didn't understand the words, but he felt the anger behind them. The demand. Lyra's voice slipped into his mind, sharp and clear. They will not let you live. Ryan's pulse pounded. Then we fight. The shadows lunged. Lyra moved first. Her hands flashed, sending out a shockwave of energy. The air cracked as two of the creatures were slammed backward, their bodies crashing against the walls. Ryan didn't have time to think. He grabbed a broken piece of the device, sharp and metallic. He barely knew what it was, but right now, it was a weapon. One of the creatures appeared beside him, too fast. A clawed hand lashed out. Ryan ducked, barely avoiding it. He drove the sharp metal into its side. The creature let out a soundless shudder, its body twisting unnaturally before it collapsed. Ryan stared. It worked. Then, pain. A second creature grabbed his shoulder, yanking him backward. His vision blurred as cold energy surged through his body, draining him. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Then Lyra touched him. The energy snapped. The creature reeled back as Lyra's hand burned white-hot, her face twisted in concentration. Ryan gasped, stumbling forward. His body felt different. Stronger. Faster. The energy inside him wasn't fading. It was growing. Lyra's voice echoed in his mind. You are changing. Ryan didn't have time to process that. The leader of the creatures lifted a blade-like weapon, aimed directly at Lyra's chest. She didn't move. Ryan did. Adrenaline surged through him. His body reacted faster than humanly possible. He grabbed the fallen creature's weapon and threw it. It hit dead center. The leader staggered, its dark armor cracking, the glowing energy inside flickering. The other creatures hesitated. Lyra turned to Ryan. For the first time, she looked surprised. The ancient device hummed louder, its glow reaching blinding levels. Lyra's expression darkened. The ship is failing. We must go. Now. Ryan didn't argue. She grabbed his wrist. The world blurred, twisted, folded in on itself. And then, they were gone. A new dawn. Light. Blinding. Warm. Real. Ryan gasped as his body slammed into solid ground, the breath knocked from his lungs. For a split second, he thought he was dead, that the teleportation had failed. Then he heard it. The sound of wind. Ryan opened his eyes, blinking hard. Blue sky stretched overhead. A sun, Earth's sun, blazed down, warm against his skin. He was home. His body ached, but something was different. His senses felt sharper. The air smelled too clear. His heartbeat felt too strong. Then he remembered. Lyra. He sat up, looking around. She was there, but she wasn't standing. Lyra lay on the ground, unmoving. Ryan's chest tightened. Hey. He crawled toward her, gripping her arm. Lyra, wake up. No response. For the first time, she looked fragile, small. Her glowing violet skin was dim, her breathing shallow. Ryan felt something twist inside him. She had saved him, over and over. And now, he gritted his teeth. No, she wasn't dying. He wouldn't let that happen. His hands shook as he pressed them against her shoulders. "Come on," he muttered. "You don't get to just." A soft pulse of energy shot up his arms. Ryan inhaled sharply. It wasn't from Lyra. It was from him. His skin tingled, and deep inside, he felt something. A flicker of the same energy Lyra had used to heal him before. Was that part of him now? He didn't know what he was doing. He just let go. A pulse of warmth spread from his hands into her. A connection, invisible but real, pulling at something deep inside his bones. Lyra's body shuddered. Then, her silver eyes snapped open. Ryan exhaled in relief as she sat up slowly, her gaze locking onto him. For a moment, she just stared. Then, softly, in that strange, beautiful voice in his mind, "You are not human anymore." Ryan froze. The realization hit him all at once. The strength, the awareness, the way the energy had responded to him. He had changed. The sound of distant thunder rolled across the sky, except it wasn't thunder. Ryan turned his head, and his stomach dropped. Something enormous moved in the clouds. A shadow, a shape, a fleet. Lyra's voice was quiet but firm. "They found us." Ryan clenched his fists. 3 days ago, he was just a man drifting in space, dying. Now he was something else. And this time, he wasn't just fighting for his own survival. He was fighting for Earth.